Hey everybody, Wormhole Matt here for the Wormhole Manifest podcast. I'm doing something a little different today. I'm just doing a little update solo episode. Don't have any guests this time. Nobody to put on the manifest for our journey and travels through the wormhole into these uncharted territories of different ideas and thoughts and discussions and all kinds of stuff. I just thought I'd do a quick episode just by myself. I've got a bunch of things I want to pass on. I've been kind of taking a break the last couple weeks from recording, just kind of gathering my thoughts and trying to line up some new really cool and interesting special guests that I can interview on the show. I want to make this show as interesting and as helpful as possible to people out there. And, you know, I want it to have a certain level or degree of intellectual type discussions. I've mentioned in the first episode that I'm just like learning how to speak again. So being able to sit here and talk with other people is really good practice for me on a social level, as far as getting back in the world and having, building, working with a community of friends and people that I connect with, just getting myself back out there after many, many years of being in this crazy, like, mental health crisis of sorts, where I was a shut-in and didn't do much of anything. I hardly spoke to people. I have friends that I haven't talked to in many years, and during the whole Trump administration, I cut off a lot of people that were in my life for many, many years, or majority of my life, that didn't add any value to my existence. They were toxic, and I had to let them go for my own sanity, my own mental health. And since I've done that, things have been progressively getting better. And I've made tons of new friends that align more with the things that I believe in and my ideals and stuff that I want to focus on in my life coming up. So anyway, this episode, I'm going to give a quick mental health update. Let's see, the last time I recorded was with our friend Frankie, and she's a good person to talk to discuss things like mental health, and I want to bring her back on soon, and all the other guests that have been on have been really amazing and funny. I appreciate everyone who out there who's listening, who's actually giving me the time of day to practice my social interactions and get myself back out in the world, and those people that are along for the ride on my path to learning how to create again and be creative and do the things that I think will help me in my journey to healing. And I keep saying and and all that, and I've noticed that while editing all these past episodes, and I'm going to try to work on that. But if it's not written down and I'm just sitting here in my thoughts trying to speak what I'm thinking, like having ADD or ADHD, like the things don't come naturally. I sit there and I think of a million things all at once to say, and like the brain filter mechanism between my brain and mouth, it forces the ums and the likes, God, it's horrible, but I'm working on it. So anyway, as far as mental health updates, the latest update is that, and if you know me or know anything about me, I was on a lot of different mental health pharmaceutical medications that were prescribed by different doctors over the last I would say since around 2013 or so was when a lot of my issues started really kicking in. And I was put on a lot of different medications. I had a psychotic break at one point, right towards the end of when I was getting ready to retire from the military in 2015, I think it was, or 2014. Had to have a stay in a hospital for a while. And that was I want to say it's no fun, but like I learned a lot from it, from the experience, and it gave me the fact that I chose to go to the hospital because I was, and I'll just go ahead and say it, like I was suicidal and I didn't want to live, and I had a constant intrusive thoughts and suicidal ideation that had been living with for many years. But I think with different medications and things like that, it kind of stirred things up and kind of brought out some of those crazy thoughts to the point where the definition of a suicidal ideation is that you have thoughts of committing suicide, but not actually doing it. Like you have thoughts on like how to do it, or, it's just something you think about. And it's a normal thing, actually. Like it's something that a lot of people have, and they don't ever really consider going through with it. I reached the point where I was considering it. So at that point, I made the decision during a mental breakdown that I needed to get help. And so I basically drove myself to the local hospital with my wife, and I was in a complete panic. I was freaking out. I went in there. I started yelling at people that I wanted to kill myself. And from that, I mean, if anybody's ever been in a situation like that, you know that they will take that pretty seriously, and they will get you in, and they will see you, and then they will kind of have to analyze you or hold you in the hospital for a while to figure out if it's safe to release you like back out into the wild. So at that point, like I really wasn't safe because the thoughts weren't going away. Like if something didn't happen, then I didn't know what the next step was. So like, but they told me what the next step was, since I wasn't changing my mind that I was going to kill myself. They said, we're going to take you to another hospital, and then you will be basically locked up in there until we can determine if you're safe to release. And so yeah, it was a eye-opening experience to not be able to just do what you want. And so when I had that breakdown, let's see where I was going. It changed a lot of things for me, but it's a good thing that I made that decision, because otherwise I may not be here today. And if I highly recommend, if anyone out there is feeling how I felt that day, like, do not hesitate. It's scary. I know it's really scary to think that, you may not want to reach out for help when you're in that state of mind, when you're in that frame of mind. It's very, very difficult to choose, to make that choice to get help. But you will thank me if you do. If you make the decision to not harm yourself and to get help. If you go to a hospital, like I drove myself to a hospital, and I wasn't really even in a condition to drive, but like my wife was with me and she was wanting to drive, but I was like, no, I'm going to do this. Cause I guess it was like proving to myself that I am going to force myself to get help. So that was kind of like a cry for help in itself, like that was like the ultimate, I need to go get help and I'm going to do this myself, and not, but once I got put into that hospital, not the first one, but the one that they took me to, everything, after I calmed down and everything, I started to think back on all the things and what led up to that point. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with a lot of the medications and stuff I was on, and plus the fact that I was drinking, throw in chronic pain on top of that because I was having back problems from a herniated disc that I had gotten a few months before that. I also I was dealing with chronic pain for probably like 6 to 8 months, and I had just 2 years before that had a lower back surgery on a herniated disc, and then I was getting ready to retire from the military. December of 2013, my father passed away, and then in March of 2014, my brother Mark had also passed away, and my brother Mark was the third brother that I've lost so far. So far I've lost my mom, was like 13 years ago, and then when I was like 13 years old, I lost one of my older brothers, John. He died he was an over-the-road truck driver, and he was in a really bad crash. Like his semi went off of like a ravine, and rolled down a like steep embankment, and it, yeah, so it was really bad. So like, and then I had another brother who was a huge drug addict actually, and had a lot of mental health issues that never got treated. He ended up dying because his heart failed because of all the abuse that his body had taken. Even though he had cleaned up, he was off drugs, or opioids, I would say. I think he was smoking crack mostly when he was addicted to things, but probably tried many other different kinds of substances that weren't good for your heart. But even though he cleaned up, he still had a lot of issues, and he was living with my brother Mark at the time. So 3 brothers and a mom and dad I'd lost. I had lost countless friends through my life, being in the military and stuff. So when it came after my brother Mark had passed in 2014, and while I was in chronic pain dealing with the lower back issues for the second time around, I was on pain medications, I was drinking a lot, and I was on a few other medications. It all kind of boiled down to like, my body had had enough, my brain had had enough, and all the constant suicidal ideations, the suicidal thoughts had boiled to a point where I'm like, I need to just do this because I'm sick of everything. My overwhelming grief from losing all these people had gotten to a point where I couldn't handle it anymore. So I just lost it. Everything came down on me like a ton of bricks, and at that point I broke, I snapped, and I needed to get help, and I was trying to get help before that, and that's why I was put on some medication, like right after my brother had passed, and I was having some breakdowns here and there. I could barely work when I was at work because I was on pain medication and I was drinking all the time just to get through my chronic pain. Like sciatica and stuff, like shooting pains down your leg. Like it's debilitating when you can barely bend over and it takes you like 15 minutes to get out of bed because you have to roll and sit on your side and wait for the pains down your legs to subside before you can get up and start moving around. And then once you get up and move around, you have to like walk out that pain until it kind of feels normal and you can be mobile and move around. So like there's just a lot of shit, a lot of stuff going on. And the reason I started this podcast is because now that I've been getting off of all these different medications and I'm starting to get creative again, like I want to share my story, share the things that led up to the point of where I decided to get better. Like enough was enough. I'm tired of being depressed and having anxiety and all these crazy random diagnosis from doctors and psychiatrists and stuff that I don't even know really if they're legit or not. Like some of them I kind of believe. Just to let's see, some of my diagnosis, there's like ADHD is one of the main ones. Then there's like major depressive disorder, OCPD, which is like the it's like OCD, obsessive compulsive, but it's personality disorder, and bipolar. I'm not sure which bipolar I was diagnosed, but it was one of them. And then generalized anxiety disorder, all these different things, but I think really what it boils down to, because I didn't have a lot of these issues when I was younger. I mean, I was depressed a lot, and I did have anxiety problems, but I was still able to go to work, and I was able to get jobs and go to school, and I joined the military, and I made it through boot camp, and I learned how to work on airplanes, and I traveled around the world, and I did a lot of things that required a conscious effort to know how to socialize and do what I'm told, and do things that are, I guess, in quotation, somewhat normal. But I think the bottom line is that I'm neurodivergent. I've always had strange ideas and wacky thoughts, and I've talked to people, and people look at me weird, and, they're like, wow, you're a really weird guy, but I could play it off and not, I don't know, not seem too weird, I guess, even though all my friends that know me and know me well know that I'm a weird, wacky, crazy person. I just have always been different, and that's fine. That's good. I think that's, we're all different. We're all special in our own ways. But the thing was I was able to get through all those things. But I think the massive amount of grief that I was suffering from losing all those people, mixed with the fact that I drank all the time to mask the symptoms of my possible disorders, or whatever you want to call them. It didn't help when I think when I lost my mind at that time, I think I was trying to stop drinking at that point, but I'm not sure. It's all kind of fuzzy at this point. But the thing is, if you ever reach the point that I got to, you have to get help. That's what I can't stress that enough. Because everyone, you'll thank yourself. Everyone will thank you that you didn't harm yourself, or, get to that point. So anyway, the most recent update, I'm kind of rambling here, but the most recent update is that I was on a lot of medications, and that was still driving me crazy up till the beginning of, the end of 2019. Even though after I'd gotten out of the hospital and I was on a track, I stopped drinking, I was still on a bunch of medications. I was running my own computer repair shop. That was a brick and mortar store downtown in the city that I live in, and working myself to death and getting burnt out. And it kind of led to almost another psychotic break. I did actually go to the hospital another time, but I wasn't as I was pretty suicidal at that point, but I wasn't planning anything, or wasn't, so they ended up letting me go because they determined, I set myself straight. I'm like, no, this is not what I want. I'm not at the point where I'm not going to repeat what I did a couple years before that. So they ended up being like, okay, we can let you go. And then ever since then, I've been trying to work on myself and doing research onto what can I do to get actually better, and not, not have these things, these symptoms. What can I, all the medications I'm on right now are treating the symptoms of these disorders, but they're not getting to the root cause. So that's when I started looking into alternate methods of treating mental health issues or mental illness. And that got me into looking into psychedelic substances. There's a lot of good information out there. We lost 40 years of research due to the war on drugs, but all of these substances out there have uses. There's definitely things that they can be used for the good of mankind and society that were not being looked into because of the stigma of that. If these drugs are drugs and they're bad, but it's what's the big difference between a drug that is illegal and a drug that is prescribed or made by a pharmaceutical company? These big billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies are pushing out drugs day after day. All those drugs do is treat symptoms. I'm not saying those drugs are all those drugs are bad. Every drug has a use. if it's used. And that's why psychedelics are being studied now, to see what they can do to possibly benefit us humans and society. And that's why, you know, and it really sucks that we lost so much time because of that stigma and because of, you know, the war on drugs and the president back then in the 70s, Jimmy, what's his name? Jimmy Carter. The I am not a crook guy. Anyway, like all that stuff went, you know, they just marked them as bad and they were illegal. So we've lost a lot of time with those. So when I was doing the research on these, I was like, I need to make sure I'm not drinking. And then I also want to get off of these medications that are making me feel like a zombie all the time. So I would say about 2 years ago, beginning of 2020, here's a list of the meds I was on. I was on lisinopril, which was for high blood pressure. I was on Cymbalta, Abilify, Klonopin, Trazodone, Adderall, Risperidone, lamotrigine or Lamictal, and fluvoxamine or Luvox. All these different medications for various reasons, and that's a lot of medications. That doesn't seem. And I had several doctors at the time too, so it's like they, you know, they would warn me that, you know, taking this one with this one may not be that great of an idea, and I'm like, I don't know. So it's like, why do this? It made me feel like shit. I couldn't think for many years before 2020, or yeah, 2020. I was a zombie. I was a nonstop depressive, anxious mess. I laid in bed all day because, I mean, I'm retired military and I was running my computer repair shop, but I had decided to just stop going into work. And, you know, so I wasn't making any money. I'm just living off my military retirement pay, and I'm hanging out in the house all day, not being social, not doing anything. So the beginning of 2020, I was like, I'm not going to these doctors anymore. I'm going to start going to the VA, the Veterans Association, or Veterans Assistance, where I can hopefully get treated for free is the main thing, but also get hopefully get some better help. And the main thing was I wanted to get help with getting off of the medications because I wasn't feeling good. I knew there was something else I needed to do. So 2020, I made an appointment. I went to the VA for the first time, and I saw their mental health or psychological people. I don't know, psychology. and I told them what I wanted, and they looked at me and they were like, I was like shaking, and I was like, didn't want to be there. Like I couldn't go out in public. I would go to I tried going to Walmart with the wife a couple times, and I basically had to leave because I couldn't stand being in there. Like I couldn't go out in public. It was not a good thing for me. It was not a good time. I was like, you know, I had to go sit out in the vehicle, and for a couple of years, my wife had to do all the grocery shopping and all that stuff. She had to take care of my kids on my kids' weekends, because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. I laid there watching the Weather Channel, for God's sake, for 10, 12 hours, and just in a state of inner turmoil, and I couldn't shake it. There was nothing I could do. It just felt pointless. So all those medications, after I decided to start getting off of those, let's see, maybe I should take a break here and then finish up. This is going to be a short episode, so yeah, hang on. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, we're back. We were just talking. I keep saying we. I was talking about kind of going over my history of mental health stuff during this episode, and I was just talking about all the medications that I was on and what I decided to start changing at the beginning of 2020. And keep in mind that was the beginning of the pandemic. COVID was starting like around December of the previous year, but I decided to start making changes, and in the beginning of 2020, I went to my first VA appointment, told the doctor that I was like, I want to get off of all these medications if I can, like, but I want to do it safely. Like I knew from previous experience with like going off meds cold turkey, like that does not work. Like that is horrible idea. Do not do that. Like, do not just, if you've been on a medication for like months on end or even a year or, or even a couple weeks, like don't just stop all of a sudden, because there will be effects. There will be withdrawals and your brain will frizzle and frazzle and it just will not be fun. You could be nauseated. You can have like vertigo from, it's crazy. Like these medications like SSRIs and things for depression and mental health, they can really throw you for a loop. I knew from being on them for many years, like if I would miss a day of not taking my meds that day, like I would be able to tell the following day. Like the following day I would feel so off center, like just out of it. Like, and I'd be like, oh shit, I forgot to take my meds. Like that's, it really messes you up, even missing one dose, so like cold turkey going off it for days on end, like you'll wind up in the hospital. So don't do that. You have to taper off of doses of different medications at different rates. So definitely talk to the doctor and find out the best way to get off of a medication if you're on one. And that's what I decided to do. I knew about that from past experience. So I went to the VA and I'm like, this is my plan. I want to get off the medications. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't. I was talking earlier too about how I was in chronic pain when I had my psychotic break. I ended up getting surgery on that later on in that year, so I dealt with it a while longer, but that's all fixed now. That's fine. Every once in a while I have some issues, but I'm not on any kind of pain medications. And that was a bad habit that I had too, because when I was drinking a lot and I was also taking pain medication, that's a bad combo. So don't do that. I got hooked on it and it kind of helped push me along down down the hole of the mental health crisis, like it did not help that one bit. So being addicted to pain medication because you're in pain and you want to feel good, like it will have lasting effects too. And I think after years, I'm just now starting to heal my brain from the damage that was done. So yeah, anyway, so starting in 2020, they're like, okay, let's see what medications you're on. Let's see what we can do, what we can start you off by, start tapering off of. And so we did. We took like one or two of them and we reduced the dosage on those. I went a couple months of, doing that and tapering down lower and lower every few weeks or every month or so, and to the point where I was able to safely stop taking it altogether. And that worked, but it took a long time because I was on so many different things. So, it got to the point where I was starting to feel a lot better. So last year, this is December of 2021. I would say I started to feel a lot better throughout the year of 2020 as I started reducing and tapering off the medications. I hadn't really drank that much alcohol for a couple years before that, but I was feeling quite a bit of anxiety from weaning off of the anxiety medication. And also because I was getting off of the stimulant that I was on for ADHD. I was on Adderall. So I started to drink here and there like a couple times a week. And that kind of buffered the anxiety. It kind of, I have such a huge tolerance to alcohol that it takes a lot to actually get me a buzz or get me drunk. But like, I didn't really get drunk that whole time during that year, but I was drinking a lot more often. And it's not the best idea. I don't recommend it. But for me, it worked pretty well because I was able to reduce the anxiety while I was tapering off the medications, which also allowed me some free time where I could think a little more clearly. to do more research onto what I wanted to do to start tackling the true issues, my deep down mental health issues, my whatever mental illness or the diagnosis that I was given that put me on the medications to begin with. I'm like, I don't want to treat the symptoms anymore. I want to find out what is wrong. Why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking these thoughts? And what can I do to help myself get better? Like actually better, not just, mask the symptoms, like gloss over them, and so I could put a smile on my face and go out in the world and interact like I had been doing my entire life. That fake smile, that mask that I put on, or the hat that I needed to wear that was my job for that career that I was in. Like I'd go in and be like, hey, it's me, like I'm ready to do my job and I'm so happy to be here and blah, 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 meanwhile, behind the mask, there's like a million different things going on. It's like that meme you see with the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg's outside of, on top of the surface of the water, and like that's like what you show people, but below that is all your mental illness, struggles and things like that, like, and it has all the different things that are along with whatever your diagnosis is, that's what you're hiding, that's what you're keeping. That's what I wanted to treat. That's what I wanted to tackle and say, I want to go to the root of the issue and figure out what am I going to do about it? Where can I go from here without these medications that are just crutches and just treating symptoms to help me put that mask on? Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be me, but I don't want to feel like shit like 99% of the time. So I started researching psychedelics because I've heard a lot of good things about people doing micro doses of things like psilocybin mushrooms and lysergic acid dithalamide, or LSD. And the more I looked into it, the more I'm like, wow, this makes a lot more sense, because like, if you think about it, like, mushrooms have been around for, as long as the world has. So this fungus that's a natural substance that people have been using for, as plant medicine, for, thousands of years, they didn't have a lot of the issues that we have today back then, And so, I wrote some anecdotes. I think I'm going to go through those real quick just so I can get this, episode wrapped up pretty quickly. I have some words that I wrote down. I wanted to just, I forgot to mention, like, as far as the medications go and the big pharmaceuticals, like, that's not the first time I was on medications over the last 10 years, but like for 20 or so years, I had been on other things like Paxil and Prozac and Effexor and Valium and you name it. I tried it, like, and none of it really helps, you might feel good for a little while. Anyway, I wanted to get this out there. Something, we all come from different backgrounds and places in the world. So being open, honest, and showing respect is the key to forming relationships and communicating. This will open the door to learning and growing as individuals and as a community and society. Being tactful is also important. Otherwise, we just sound like we're judgmental, which comes off as rude and dismissive. Everyone's feelings are valid, and everyone deserves to be listened to unless they prove otherwise. Don't be a dick, and others will be more receptive to what you have to say. I just wanted to get that out there. Like, that's something that I've learned in this journey, is that people will come off the wrong way, and that is an immediate turnoff. Like, that is an immediate red flag. If you're not trying to communicate and say what you mean or how you feel or whatever, then you just sound dismissive or judgmental, and you just sound like an asshole. So everybody, that's Wormhole's advice. Don't be a dick. Be tactful, speak your mind, speak your feelings. Your feelings are valid. Your ideas are valid, but there's all this stuff going on right now where everybody's like, do your own research. It's like, no, motherfucker, I'm not going to do your research for you to prove your point. Like, if you have something you want to show me to prove your point, then by all means, show me the evidence. But like, it's just something that's been kind of pissing me off lately. So just want to throw that out there. Don't be a dick. Don't say to do your own research. Because that's, yeah. If you want to, you're like all these Facebook doctors and people. I don't know. So another thing, I was talking to my friend Frankie about things that we were going to talk about on our episode, but I mentioned a few things I didn't want to forget in a message when we were talking about medications and what we were going to talk about on the episode, but I didn't get a chance to get into that. I didn't remember what I wrote down or messaged. So I was talking about getting off of the medications, but I was kind of hesitant to get to the point. Oh, by the way, in the beginning of the episode when I was talking about the mental health check, the latest thing is I just got off of the final second medication that I was on. I was on 2 after I've gotten off over the past 2 years. I've gotten off all that medication except for 2. And then last week was the last dose of one of those. So now completely I'm only on one final medication, and that's the fluvoxamine or Luvox. And it's also a very low dose because I've weaned down off of that. I'm on 50 milligrams a day. So that's pretty good. I think I've come a very long way in the past 2 years getting off all those medications. And I feel way more stable now than I ever have like in my entire life. And that's, I'll get into that later, like why I feel that way, because of the things that I've been doing that have been helping me get to those root issues that I was talking about earlier. So the fluvoxamine, I'm on 50 milligrams. So that's good. That's my update for today. The end of year, December 2021, after 2 years and a pandemic and insurrection on the White House, and it's been an end of a whole long, I guess since like 2016 when Trump got elected, I went into this mode of everything sucks. Like, this shit cannot be real. Like, this is like Mandela effect stuff. Like, we're not living in the reality that I know anymore. Like, it's just insanity. I was like, this cannot be real. But I guess it was real. People out there think that. I don't know. I won't go too much into that because it just drives me crazy. But but speaking of driving crazy, I am not as crazy. I mean, I'm probably always going to be crazy in the ways that I used to think, like, oh yeah, I'm just a crazy guy. But I'm not actually. I don't know. You can't trust the people that say I'm not crazy, because if the people that say I'm not crazy, they usually tend to be the ones that are, but if you can openly admit that you're crazy, then you're good to go. Like, it's, at least you got it under control. At least you know where you stand. So yeah, I'm crazy, but in a good way. Okay, so I was going to get back on this and go into. I was hesitant to get off the drugs, and that's where I left off. I'm actually doing that. I'm getting off those ones I was hesitant to get off of, and it's only been a week, so I'm still kind of feeling it out. I've been feeling a little off the last couple days, and I haven't been recording these episodes every week since the Thanksgiving episode. Or Thanksgiving was when I recorded, but it came out the next Friday after that. It was the last new episode. So I'm going to get back into that. I'm still feeling creative and getting a lot of cool ideas, but I got to feel my feelings. I got to make sure that I'm not missing things. I got to be mindful of how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, because I used to just, if I missed a dose of a medication, not realize why I was feeling weird the next day. So I'm being mindful of how I feel as I'm going the days through, since I've gotten off this last medication. So I just got to keep things in mind that if I start to feel off or weird, it may be because of the lack of the medication, but it's not bad. Like, I used to think if I felt bad or felt sad or mad or whatever, like something was wrong with me. But they're just natural emotions. I got to keep that in mind. It's okay to feel not okay. And that's like what I've been saying for quite a while, you know, like it's okay to not be okay, you know, and that's what we have to keep telling everyone out there, that if you feel bad, don't like suck it up. Like, don't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because that gets us nowhere. Feel your feelings, analyze them, and move through them. Let them move through you. Let them take their course. Get rid of that energy. Let that energy pass through you, or divert it into another more constructive way. Convert it into a different energy. And there's, I'll go into all that stuff later on, and that's just things I'm still learning as I'm on this healing journey. But something I said to Frankie, this one, I said, I was hesitant because I feel pretty good and I don't want to jeopardize that, but do feel like I could be good without them as long as I keep working on my mental health the way I have been. Microdosing has been the real key to success, though. It's like I can feel my brain healing and forging new pathways and connections. My trains of thought have been so different, and it's like I can look at almost any situation or idea from a variety of new angles and perspectives. It's awesome. Breaking patterns can seem scary, but once you get off the beaten path of habitual routine, the adventure begins, and it's actually really exciting. Exploring the unknown, as humans are driven to do in nature. Being confined to structure and habit is so boring and basically causes insanity after a while. You know, like the repetitive day in, day out stuff. Like, we get burnt out. That's not what us humans are meant to do. Like, we're explorers. We got to be out there doing things and learning and growing. And that's how we've evolved to the point we are at now. Except now we've evolved to the point where we like spend 8 to 10 or 12 hours a day in an office cubicle and don't get outside and see things, you know, or even some people sit in a truck and drive across the country for 12 hours a day, you know, like you might be seeing things and doing things, but your mind is like just going through the motions, you know, like we're in these repetitive cycles of, you know, of life. That's just a structure and it's a habit. And, you know, like if we don't break those things and do something different, eventually you will lose it. You will go insane. So the more we explore, the more we learn. The more we learn, the more we know. The more we know, the more we want to learn. It just keeps on building on itself and keeps things interesting. And yeah, I told her I hope I can remember all this when we record, but I did not. But now I wanted to make sure I had that on there. So yeah, like the more we do, like the more our brain can grow, and like say like, you know, the more we're learning, the more things that we read or learn about or hear or see, you know, it's those things are recorded in our minds that can build branches onto new pathways, so that we can say like, you know, instead of going down a path that you're so used to going down, like say you're walking through the woods and you have a path that you take every day to get to a well to get water, you know, like you take that path every day, you know, maybe 2-3 times a day, and you're so used to it, it's a well-worn path. Well, that's kind of like how our brains are. Our brains get in these habits of taking the easiest path of less resistance because we know it, and we know we'll get to the place we need to get to, or achieve what we need to achieve in the shortest time possible. But like until you start to go down that well-worn path, and then you stop, and then you look off to the side out into the wilderness that's like scary and like you don't know what's out there, until you decide to just take a step out off the path and start walking out aimlessly and find what's out there, you're exploring, and it becomes exciting. It becomes an adventure. And that's what my path to healing my mental health issues has been like since I've started microdosing, since I've started practicing things like mindfulness, since I've started getting into things like meditation, and talking to people that are really wise about those subjects. You know, I've kind of fallen off the meditation thing, but like it was really helping. when I was trying a few different methods. There's so many different methods, and I know people out there like, oh God, meditation. What do? Just sit there and just think of crazy stuff in the complete silence and you don't like do anything and whatever. But guided meditation is way different. Like you have someone who's telling you, like, you're breathing, this is what you should be analyzing in your body. You start with your feet and go up to the top of your head and down to the tips of your fingers, analyze how everything feels. There's so many different methods. So like, maybe I'll do an episode later with, I'll bring a friend of mine back on who's really gifted at explaining those kinds of things, because I still don't know it. Like, I don't know all the different forms of meditation and things like that, but I do know that the few things I have tried have worked wonders. And I would highly recommend somebody, who might be wondering about meditation, or might think that they're not going to be good at it, or it's not going to work for them. Look for different ones. Don't just try one and then give up. Because I've had a few that I've tried. My wife recommended one that we did that was a basic breathing exercise, but my mind wasn't into it. Like, I was just sitting there doing the motions, but I wasn't, my mindset wasn't there. Like, you have to be in the mindset to want to learn what the meditation can do for you. Like, you have to want it to help in order for it to help, kind of thing. Kind of like if you're having mental health issues and you're feeling like hurting yourself, you got to reach out. You have to get help. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get help. You will not be shamed, and people will thank you later, your friends, your family, whoever, so yeah, definitely reach out. Let's see. I think the other stuff I was going to talk about was, I was going to go into the whole history of all the medications, but I kind of touched on that. And then let's see. Oh yeah, like I've been on antidepressants for about 20 years or so, but really come to find out I was only depressed because of the symptoms of my other actual mental illnesses, which didn't come out until I quit drinking, because it was a few years back that I stopped drinking for about 2 or 3 years completely, and I was on those other medications, and I was really losing my mind because I had used drinking as a crutch for so long that when I stopped, all my other mental health issues started coming out to the forefront and rearing their ugly head. So when I quit drinking, I drank my whole life, and it helped mask those symptoms from a young age. And I found drinking calmed me down and made me kind of happy or in a better mood, because it would slow down my hyper-focused, like, ADD mind. The drawback was it would make me more depressed when I was sober, so I just tried to not be sober as much as possible. Then it ended up getting out of... what? I don't know. I'm trying to read what I wrote. I was shooting myself in the foot that whole time, because I was still drinking and all that. And I really wouldn't have been depressed if I could just think and be happy. That's not happening. It hasn't been until the 10 months or so of microdosing psilocybin mushrooms and using other non-hallucinogenic mushrooms that I realized I can just repair the damage to my brain's neural pathways caused from depression and alcohol to relieve my depression and treat my symptoms of ADHD, OCPD, and bipolar. I wrote that I actually don't think I'm bipolar. I just think I was having some of the symptoms from the meds, and from the damage I did from drinking and other drugs. Some people may not be able, they mentioned that they might not be able to use psychedelics due to other diagnoses or something. I only think half of my diagnosis was right, and other symptoms were self-induced over many years of abuse. That's probably true. But now from using psychedelics, I don't have about 89% of the issues I was having for so many years. I don't really get anxious now. I'm not hearing voices. That's always a good thing. I don't have obsessive, intrusive thoughts. That was a big one. That one was very, hateful self-speak and things like that. Like, that is never good. If you're in a pattern like that where you're constantly criticizing yourself, or like thinking of a discussion, if you're having arguments like with a spouse in your mind, those kinds of things they're not normal. Like, you shouldn't, be going through repetitive, constant, doubtful, negative self-speak or crazy, made up arguments in your head that just circle in thought loops that just go round and round. That's not good. You're spiraling out of control at that point when you're getting into there. So like, that's a huge one for me, is not having those intrusive thoughts, not thinking of just random things. I don't feel really depressed. Like, I can say that sometimes I do. The past couple days I was feeling a little down. About a week and a half ago, I was feeling really down, and I was like thinking, man, I feel kind of useless. And like, I don't think my friends that are my friends like actually like me, but that was kind of getting back into that self-talk, and I realized it, and I caught myself, and I'm like, no, I'm not going down that road again. That's not what's going on. I'm just feeling depressed, and that's okay. I have to feel my feelings, analyze them, say, this is how I feel, and it's okay to feel this way. Let that feeling move through me, I'm not, I don't have constant suicidal ideation anymore. That is a really good thing. And I don't have the constant extreme mood swings. Those got really bad sometimes, and you can ask my wife about that. That's, she put up with a lot of crazy shit. We've been through a lot over the past 8 years or so, and it's, man, yeah, it's crazy. So those mood swings will get just insane and doesn't do anybody any good. So I'm all those symptoms and things that I've been working on have been basically due to the microdosing mushrooms and using other non-hallucinogenic mushrooms in things like smoothies, because those things have healing abilities. It's a plant medicine. It's a fungus in itself is like just has all these properties that will get in there and help you clear up your thoughts, your processes. Like, just, it makes you feel like, I was sitting there one day and I was thinking, how do I feel? And I'm like, man, these mushrooms, like, that I've been putting in my smoothies every day, my brain just feels so much lighter. Like, my brain is not as tense. It's not as stressed. The thoughts come freely. The thoughts can pass from, one receptor to the next without hesitating or misfiring or whatever. Like, it's like my brain is healing. I can feel it healing. I can feel the energy, the electricity in my brain. It just feels like it's being evenly distributed throughout all those connectors and stuff. And it's amazing. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll go into it more later. I've done a lot of research into it. I don't remember everything off the top of my head. I have to make notes on everything that I learn. But it just really has. I don't recommend it for everyone. I do recommend regular mushrooms, like non-psychedelic ones. Like, there's a million of them out there, and a lot of them have really good things that can help you with mental health. The psychedelic ones, on the other hand, also have some things that will help you along your journey by giving you insight into things that you may have missed, that you just didn't cognitively think of on your own. Like, it will show you things about yourself that you may not have realized. And I've been learning through that too, in many different aspects. But I'll go deeper into that in a later episode. Like I said, I wanted to keep this one short, just kind of fill in some gaps. I'm looking to get more guests out there or on this show so we can talk about some really cool, interesting things. I think I'm going to wrap this up. I got tons more notes, but I can save some for later. So everybody, I hope you got a little more insight as to who the Wormhole is, who I am, Wormhole Matt. and why I'm doing this show, because I want to help people that may have been in a similar situation that I have been in, and that I have learned to learn that things were not working for me, and I want to get back, and I'm still working on it. The journey's never going to be over, but there are things that you can do to help. There's things that you can do to get better. If you want to get better, then there's things you can do. You have to, I know it's difficult. I know it is really, really hard to put yourself in a mindset when you're at the bottom, when you're like looking up saying, I'm never going to get out of this hole. It's very difficult to just reach out. And that's why I'm here. Like, if you're having trouble, then reach out to me. Like, you can contact the website, or send me an email or message on Twitter or whatever. And if you have any questions about the things, about like whether it's weaning off medications, or what medications you're on, what diagnoses you have for mental health issues, and we can talk about it. I can try to help as best I can. Like, I don't know everything. I don't even know a lot. But I know some, and I know what has been working for me. And if you've listened to this episode and you hear about all the crazy shit I've been through, and, you want to get on a better path, I am more than happy to try to help however I can. So everyone, thank you again for listening. Thank you for tuning into the show. I appreciate everyone's support, as I'm learning, as I'm getting further ahead in this journey of awareness and my healing journey, I call it. I thank you all for listening. I thank all the guests that have been on here so far that have been helpful with me practicing, learn how to speak in a social setting again. I appreciate all the friends that I have out there now. The ones that I've used, the ones I've replaced, the friends that I've replaced with new friends. Those new friends, I really appreciate your insights and your support, for me getting better, so that I can be a better friend, a better father to my kids. They've noticed a huge difference in the way that I behave in the past year and a half, 2 years. And my wife has mentioned several times, many times, how thankful she is that I've decided to start living again. And that's what this is all about. Like, if you are alive in this world, then we need to live. Like, don't live for anyone else. Live for yourself. Live for the people that are around you. Family is the most important, but your friends are your family. The people that support you in your healing process, those are your family. And we all are important. We all deserve to feel better, and it's just, we don't deserve to be feeling like shit the way that the things that I've been through. We need empathy. We need to, I don't know. We need to just keep moving forward. So shout out to everyone that's been on the show. Thank you so much for being out here. Please keep tuning in. I've got some other ideas of things in the works for future episodes. I have not been able to book any guests over the past couple weeks for some reason, but I really wasn't feeling like recording anyway, so that's okay. But I will get back to it, and I will hopefully have a bunch of new episodes to dump before Christmas. If something crazy happens and I don't get anything out, I hope everyone out there has a good holiday. A Happy New Year, Christmas, all that stuff, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. If you are in the depths of depression, or the seasonal depression that that a lot of people get around this time of year, do not hesitate to reach out to someone. And you can reach out to me anytime you want. You can go to the website, the link tr.ee/wormhole_manifest. Twitter is @wormfestpod. Instagram is wormhole_manifest, and you can send me a direct email at wormholemanifest@gmail.com. Again, thank you all for listening. Be safe out there. Please, 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 for the love of all that is holy, good, right, whatever the fuck, reach out if you need help. Don't hesitate. You matter. Your life matters. And I appreciate you and I love you, and much love to everyone out there who is supporting me on my healing journey and producing this show. So everyone, take care out there. We'll see you next time. Peace.